What do I have in my pocket? If you were to say a phone, wallet, my keys, you'd be right. But I also always carry around a deck of cards. And also, for me, this deck of cards is just a year old, but it's already worn with all the times I've been playing with it. Now, just to give you a quick little history lesson about cards really quickly, they were originally found in China, first documented in 922 AD, according to Chinese History of Cards by Wilkeson. But they were first introduced or made note of in Europe in the year 1322, which is stated by Mackerperson in the History of Playing Cards. Now, there are also hundreds, if not thousands, of different card games. There are 2,000 that are at least known according to the Oxford Guide of Card Games by Parlett. But I would like to tell you about my favorite card game today. Also give you brief instructions on how to play it. It's called Mafia. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. Now, in order to play this game, there are 3 steps that I'm going to have to take you through. The first one is the setup of the game. Then there is the night phase of the game, and then there's the day phase of the game. So let's start with the setup of the game. You need a group of between 6 to 12 people in order to play Mafia. At its best, is what I'd say. In order for this game to begin, you need to have one of those 6 people segregate themselves from the group, and he'll become the narrator of the game. The narrator's job to begin with is to get his deck of cards out, and also to fairly balance 2 teams, the Mafia and the townspeople. And between these 2 teams, he can select cards that will represent what person's going to get what role. So, for example, Jack is pretty much always the Mafia. Then there is the King, which is almost always the sheriff in the game. Then there's the Queen, which is almost always the guards person in the game. Lastly, all other players in the game can be townspeople or just random roles that you make up. But for the sake of time, we're going to say they're just townspeople. Now, as soon as he gets all these cards and he deals them out to every person that wants to play, the night phase of the game begins. In the night phase of the game, he starts by having all the people make sure that they've seen their cards and then go to bed. They all have to close their eyes, and then he begins telling people to wake up in the groups depending on what their cards say on them. So, a good example is, to begin with, he will have the Mafia wake up. When the Mafia wakes up, he tells them to look around, make sure they see who each other are. Then he tells them to choose one person in that group. And that person in the group won't be waking up in the morning. So, after this, he tells the Mafia to go to bed, and then he tells the guard to wake up. He tells the guard to select one person. If that person has been selected by the Mafia, including themselves, then that person can still wake up in the morning. Now, if they don't select it, then nothing happens. Lastly, he tells the sheriff to wake up. And if the sheriff wakes up, as soon as the sheriff wakes up, he's told to select one person. Also, the narrator will then tell the sheriff whether that person is Mafia or not Mafia by making the M with his hand or the T with his hand. M being Mafia, T being town. Once all these objectives are done in the night, then it begins the day. The narrator tells everyone to wake up, and he tells them what happens in the night. So if people in the night have died, he tells the town who died, and if no one's died within the game, then he tells them that no one's died. As soon as this is all done, then he lets the town go at it and talk about their roles. They're able to say anything they want, they're just not able to show each other their cards. The town are then able to select one person every day to hang. Also, their goal is to find the Mafia that they can't, when they can, and hang them. The Mafia, of course, can try to trick the town into hanging one of their own. This keeps going on and on, these two cycles, until either there's only Mafia left or there's only town left. And whichever side's left wins. Now, this is how you play Mafia in Ruth. It's a simple, fun game. You're able to play with this group of between 6 to 12 people, and it can be broken up into 3 steps. These 3 steps being the setup, the day, and the night. All these setups and other things can be added to the game to make it even more fun. Also, they're just like cards. It's unlimited in how much you can have and how much fun you can do with the group. And so I hope that you guys all know this new card game, and we'll play it eventually. Thank you.